It's time for another edition of Fridays in the Fields, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank. We're back on site again at Miller Farms in Sioux County, Nebraska, about 10 miles north of Henry, right on the Nebraska-Wyoming border. Catching up once again with Glenn Miller of Miller Farms, and it's been a wild summer this far. I guess in your words, how has this year's growing season been up to mid-August?
We started out early dry, had a lot of rain through May and June. Start irrigating in July, and since then it's been fairly dry, and of course recently very hot.
Last time I was out here, I was talking to your son Ross, and the wheat looked amazing. And I just drove by and got some video, as you can see here. It's been cut. How has the quality been for the 2023 harvest so far?
Wheat quality good, test weight good, protein not much. Yields were good though with all the moisture earlier.
And you said it was the protein that was a little off. Is there anything that you could have done to prevent that, or is that just kind of luck of Mother Nature?
No, that's generally just how it ends up. The more moisture seems to lower the protein more, so it just is catch-22. You can't, better yield, maybe less protein, but that's the way it is this year. And
if memory serves correct, last time when I spoke with Ross, within a week, some bad hailstorms came in. Miller Farms here, it looked like it stood the test of time.
Yeah, right here on my farms, we escaped the hail. We had a few little stones here and there, but my son's place got hailed pretty bad and took his wheat down to a low average, and they ended up with insurance totaling out his beans and his corn crop there. So anyway, it hurt the hay a lot, but it's come back now and actually cutting it right now again. So.
And that's one of the biggest risks as a farmer here in western Nebraska is the old white combine. How big of a blessing is it every year where you get unscathed from the big stuff?
Oh yeah, you figure that there's a chance every year of losing almost everything. So if you make it to the end, you have made it through luckily, and usually have a decent crop. So.
All right, and just to the north, it looks like I'm seeing some of your dry beans. You're probably a few weeks out of harvesting those yet still, correct?
Yeah, I'd say we're 10 days to 2 weeks from starting to cut some beans, and that'll probably go on through the next 30 days, from now. So we'll be working on them.
And for the early part of this week, we were seeing highs get above 100 degrees. Is that helping or hurting the dry bean crop this year?
It probably doesn't help yield-wise, but it probably pushes them along to maturity a little faster. So it's, it is what it is. It's probably pushing some of the later ones to mature, so if there was any ones worrying about making it, so.
And when do you pull the trigger on starting harvest? Are you looking for those leaves to be completely turned from green to the yellowish?
Yeah, maybe not completely, but a good share of them, and when the pods are filled, and we have all pinnos, so when the striping comes onto the beans and stuff like that, we can get ahead and go ahead and start cutting them, and then we cut them with a picket and let them lay in the windrow for 5, 6, 7 days, and then combine them. So it takes about a week to get one field from cutting to combining generally.
And ETA on when you're going to hit the field to start your corn harvest?
We let it all dry down, and so it is late October usually before we get started harvesting corn. We're irrigating now. We probably have a couple more weeks of irrigation left on the corn, and another week or 10 days on some of the beans. So,
in your opinion, how's this year's corn harvest looking at Miller Farms?
We thought maybe the corn was behind earlier with the cool and wet weather, but it seems to have caught up pretty well. Starting to see a few dents in the ears, so that's a good sign. We always figure if we see that by the 1st September, we should be in pretty good shape, barring some unbeknownst early frost.
And is there anything at this point, mid to late August, where Mother Nature could help with additional rainfall? I mean, is the irrigation water helping? I mean, is there anything for this final home stretch where you could be like, oh, thank you, God?
Yeah, probably just maybe a little cooler temperatures. We probably don't need the over 100, and rainfall would be nice, but you hate to have a storm go through because you don't know what else it'll bring.
All right, and I looked at our Fridays in the field schedule. It looks like we're going to be back in early October. So really, what's going to be keeping you busy from, I guess, the bulk of September?
Yeah, we'll be working on dry bean harvest, planting wheat, winter wheat behind the dry beans once we get them harvested, and probably putting up hay and finishing up irrigation.
All right, talking once again with Glenn Miller at Miller Farms, north of Henry in Sioux County, Nebraska. That'll do it for this week's edition of Fridays in the Field, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank.